Hello everyone and welcome back to another math video. Today we're going to be looking at a concept called unit rates, which maybe we haven't heard that word before, but we've definitely used unit rates before, and you'll see what I mean here in a second. Just a reminder, this is the short version of this lesson where we're going to go through just the main topics pretty quickly. If you'd like a more in-depth full lesson, I will link that in the description below. So up on the screen here I have a couple examples of unit rates. And so the one on the left here, right, if you're talking about your speed, okay, so if you're going 74 miles per hour or, I don't know, 55 kilometers per hour, right, these are examples of unit rates. When you look at the ingredients on the side of a can of soup or, your box of cereal in the morning, these have a ton of unit rates. And then when you talk about your typing speed, okay, words per minute, this is an example of a unit rate. And the last one here, I took this picture while I was shopping. I like granola bars. And so if you look really closely, we're going to zoom in a little bit here. If you look really closely, here's the overall price, but this little number on the right, 95.23 per ounce, is a unit rate. Okay, and we'll talk about what this means here in a second, but it is super handy for when you're calculating, what might be the better buy overall. Unit rates can help. So here we go. Let's look at this problem. It says the Suzuki family has a pontoon boat they use for outings. The boat's gas tank holds 12 gallons of gas and allows it to travel 60 miles on a full tank. How many miles can the boat travel per gallon of gas? Now, in all of the examples I used earlier, miles per hour, servings per container, price per ounce, right? The magic word for unit rates is the word per, okay? And so I see that word right here. It says, how many miles can the boat travel per gallon of gas? And you'll notice that on the left of the word in the sentence, it says how many miles can the boat travel? And on the right, it says gallons. And you'll notice that we have numbers for each of those. And so the way you set this up is your word per is like the middle line. And you do your, whatever's on the left goes on the top, and whatever is on the right goes on the bottom. So here you are going to look at your sentence, and it says how many miles. That's on the left-hand side of our word, right? So miles, they told us in the problem, was 60. So this is going to be, so miles is going to go, which is 60. And on the bottom, what was on the right-hand side of the word per was gallon. And how many gallons of gas did we start with? Well, they told us it started with 12. Okay, so 60 divided by 12. And now we can type that in a calculator, do it in your head. 60 divided by 12 is 5. And kind of important here, we're going to remember that you can write it over 1. Okay, and the reason we do that is because we need to remember that this is, on the top was miles, so this is 5 miles per 1 gallon of gas. 1 gallon of gas. Let's clean up that a little bit. All right, and so for every 1 gallon, I get 5 miles on the boat. Good info to have, right? If you're trying to figure out how far I need to go, this is how many gallons of gas I need. All right, for this second one, it says Audrey made spaghetti sauce using 6 ounce can of tomato paste and a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. How many ounces of crushed tomatoes did she use per, there's our magic word, per ounce of tomato paste? So on the top, we need to do tomatoes over the paste. No problem. So the tomatoes were, what did they say? 28 ounce, so 28. And 6, you can reduce, you can divide. If you just type in the calculator, you're gonna get 4.6 repeating basically. And so remember, this is over 1, so this is, tomatoes over paste. So 4.6 ounces of tomatoes per 1 ounce of tomato paste. And when you look at these answers, right, they're both in fractions, but if we look at this answer, if you were to type the 2 divided by 3, you would get, 0.6 repeating, which is the same as our answer, right? 4.6 repeating. So this bottom one is the correct answer. Last thing we got to talk about is speed versus pace. Speed is your distance divided by the time it took. Pace is the exact opposite. It's the time divided by the distance. So in these two problems, the first one says, what was Jamie's biking speed? So that tells me I need to do the distance divided by the time. The distance divided by the time. Well, the distance was 19 miles divided by 2 hours, which will give you, not 8.5, it'll give you 9.5 miles per 1 hour. He's going 9.5 miles an hour. Okay? For the second problem here, it says, what was Jeffrey's running pace? So we need to do the time divided by the distance. Well, the time was 50 minutes. And the distance was 10 kilometers. If you divide that, you get 5. So this is 5 minutes over 1 kilometer. 5 minutes for 1 kilometer. Okay, here's our cool clock for today, which means that it's time for you to practice these problems that you just learned about. So go ahead and pause the video and give these a shot. And when you're ready to check your answers, go ahead and unpause the video. Okay, now that you've had a chance to work these problems, let's take a look. Call this number 1. Says strawberries per slice of banana, so you should have done 5 divided by 4, which is 1.25, which matches up with this answer right here. For number 2, it says speed, so you should have done distance divided by time, so you should have done 1,240 meters divided by 80 seconds, which I'm going to use a calculator real quick, should give you 15.5. So 15.5, and this is meters per 1 second. What's his speed? For number 3, you might look at number 3 and be like, wait a second, Mr. Rickoff, where's the word per? Right? This problem does not have the word per. Well, it doesn't have it, but it does. And what I mean by that is if you look at the sentence here, how many pieces of candy does Victor give to each guest? You could say the same sentence. How many pieces of candy does Victor give per guest, right? To each per guest, same thing. And so you should have done 150 pieces of candy divided by 15 guests, and that would have given you 10 pieces of candy per 1 guest. And for number 4, it says, how much did he pay per can? So we should have done 75 divided by 150, which would have given you 0.5 over 1. And remember that this is money, right? So this is saying 50 cents. It's not 5 cents. This would be 5 cents. Okay, but this is saying 0.5, so that's 50 cents. So he's getting 50 cents per 1 can. 50 cents per 1 can. All right, that is it for today. I hope you all have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.